Students, in today's class, we are learning about the winds. We have already learned about the planetary winds. Planetary winds, they are also named as permanent winds or prevailing winds. Okay, prevailing winds. These prevailing winds, they are named as easterlies or trade winds, then westerlies and polar easterlies that we have already learned in the last class. So now we can learn about periodic winds. Periodic winds are of three types: land and sea breeze, mountain and valley breeze, then monsoon winds. About land and sea breeze, we have already learned in the insolation chapter. Land and sea breeze, they are formed based on the difference in the heating of land and the water body. Okay, so here the land, that is an opaque surface, it getting heated fast, so starts terrestrial radiation soon in the daytime itself. So atmosphere of the land, it will be warm, and atmosphere of the water body, as it take a long time to start its terrestrial radiation, it will be cool in the daytime. So from atmosphere of water body, sea breeze will blow towards the land during daytime. On the other hand, in the night time, land will getting cooled, and then that time only the sea starts to radiate the terrestrial radiation back to the atmosphere. So atmosphere of the sea or water body will be hot that time. So during this period, that means in the night time, wind will move from land to water. Another type of periodic wind, that is mountain and valley breeze. In the daytime, when the valley floors are getting heated and the air warms up, it rises up to the slopes of the nearest mountains and hill slopes. This creates a valley breeze. And in the night time, the denser cool air from the mountain slopes, that will slide down to the valley bottom. This is known as a mountain breeze. So valley breeze, that takes place in the daytime, and mountain breeze, that takes place in the night time. So there is a periodic movement of the cool and warm air. So mountain and valley breeze is also considered as a periodic winds. Monsoon winds are the next type of periodic winds. They have a seasonal nature. Seasonal winds they are, and actually this term is coming from an Arabic word. Arabic word is mausim, and it means season. Okay, mausim, it means season. So Arabian traders who have trade relation with the ancient Indian civilization, and in the middle centuries and all, they only found that these northeast trade winds, they are blowing according to a seasonal basis beyond the equator, or southeast trade winds, they are blowing beyond the equator according to a seasonal basis. Students, in this map you can find the southeast trade winds, like that from the northeast trade winds also blowing towards the equator. This is the equator. Okay, here southeast trade winds are showing which blowing towards the equator. So the equator, it is the normal intertropical convergence zone, means the winds that coming from the subtropical high pressure belt towards the tropical low pressure belt, and from here the wind that coming from the horse latitude or the southern subtropical high pressure belt towards the equator, they converge in the equator. So here the rotation of the earth that leads to the change in the direction or deflection in the direction of the southeast trade winds when they cross the equator. So here this equator, it is the natural or general intertropical convergence zone, but you can find this intertropical convergence zone that shift northward because the sun is overhead of the Tropic of Cancer. That means the shifting of the pressure belt. Okay, shifting of the pressure belt during summer season towards the north, that shift the intertropical convergence zone towards the north. So here the southeast trade winds, they are crossing the equator and they deflect. These easterly winds deflect and move as westerly winds. So they are moving according to the season. According to the season means when the summer season experiencing by the northern hemisphere, or when sun is overhead of the Tropic of Cancer, this happens. So why this happens? It is because of the low pressure over the Asian continent. Actually this Asian continent, the parts of India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Vietnam, Thailand, the Southeast Asia means the Chinese region and all, experiencing extreme low pressure as it is receiving the vertical rays of the sun. That's why this wind from the high pressure moving towards the low pressure region. Here it is extreme low pressure condition that leads to the depressions and trough here. So the wind is attracted towards this direction. So this happens seasonally. That's why it is named as a southwest monsoon winds or summer monsoons. It is having another importance. They bring large amount of moisture from the Indian Ocean and brings heavy rainfall to Indian subcontinent as well as Southeast Asian part. So that is about the southwest monsoon winds. Now the next half of the year, this southwest monsoon that will be blowing in the summer season. Now the next half of the year, that means in the winter season, these winds, that means that time the northeast trade winds, they are more prevalent. Northeast trade winds are more prevalent. Those winds, they are crossing the equator and going towards the southern hemisphere, because that period sun is overhead of the southern hemisphere, means over the Tropic of Capricorn, and this area experiencing extreme low pressure. On the other hand, northern hemisphere experiencing winter season, it is high pressure over there. So the winds that will start to blow towards the low pressure region in the southern hemisphere. That means these are northeast trade winds. These are northeast trade winds, but when they cross the equator, they will blow as northwest monsoon winds. When they cross the equator and changing the direction, they will be known as northwest monsoon winds. So you can see, due to the shifting of pressure belt, intertropical convergence zone that shifted southward beyond the equator. Okay, so the northeast monsoon winds, they are blowing from the northeast direction. Actually they are northeast trade winds, but they are crossing the equator and blowing over the Australian continent, especially in the northern western part of the Australian continent, and giving rainfall there. That time they are named as northwest monsoon winds. This takes place seasonally, and its main reason is the differential heating of land and water only. We know that land breeze and sea breeze that originate because of the differential heating of land and water. In the same way, monsoon winds are also differential related with the differential heating of land and water, but it affects a large area. Okay, so the northeast monsoon winds, they are blowing during winter season. They are offshore winds. In the case of Asian continent, you can see they are coming from the land area. They are offshore winds, so they are not able to give rainfall. But yes, some exceptions are there. Here these winds, they are able to give rainfall in the coastal region of Tamil Nadu in India, in Sri Lankan region also. Okay, then these winds, when they are blowing towards the Australian continent as northwest monsoons, they are able to give rainfall in the Australian continent. Okay, so that is all about monsoon winds. Local winds, they are restricted to a certain place, means these are also originating because of the localized heating and cooling process. So they blow from a hot area to cold area, means they are warm winds, and if the winds are moving from cold area to warm area, they are the cold winds. So local winds are of two types, warm winds and cold winds. We will learn about the different local winds here. The first type, that is Lu. You may be heard about Lu in the last year's geography class, especially related with the climate of India. This Lu, it is a hot, dry, dusty wind, because these winds are originating from the Pakistan and Rajasthan region. That means from the Thar desert region. They are originating from the Thar desert region, and they are bringing large amount of sand, fine minute dust particles with them. That's why they are hot, dry and dusty winds. They are blowing in the Lu. They are blowing in the summer season. They blow in the summer season, and sometimes because of the dust particles, it can prevent the vision also, and it increases the temperature up to 45 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius in the northern plains, especially in the Punjab, Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh region. Lu, that is more prominent in the northwestern part of India. States are Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan, and this is actually very hazardous because it can lead to sunstroke. It can lead to sunstroke among the people, so it is very dangerous. In this map you can find many local winds, hot winds as well as cold winds, but we are learning about the Fern, which is a strong warm wind that blowing from the leeward side of Alps. So from the Alps mountainous region, this wind is moving towards the Switzerland. So these winds, as they are warm wind, they are able to raise the temperature of the alpine mountainous region or in the valleys, and actually this is able to increase the temperature by 15 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius. And these winds, they are able to melt the ice caps here, and it is very good for the ripening of grapes in the vineyards in the alpine mountain region. Okay, next it is Mistral. Okay, the Mistral next, it is a cold wind. So this arrow mark that indicating Mistral, this Mistral that is coming from the cold region. These are the cold regions of the France, and from there it coming towards the Mediterranean Sea. These are cold winds, and these cold winds, they are able to reduce the temperature along the coastline of Mediterranean region. So these cold waves that can reduce the temperature of this area below freezing point. So Mistral, this is Mistral. It is an important cold local wind in the European continent. Another important local wind that blows in the North American continent, that is Chinook. So Chinook that coming from the Pacific coast, crossing the Rockies mountain and entering into the Great Plains of North America. So here Chinook, it is a warm wind. Chinook is a warm wind. It is able to melt the snow covering along the Rocky mountainous region. So it can melt around 20 meters high snow cover in the Rocky Mountains. So these winds which blowing in the USA and Canadian region, they are known as snow eaters. The Chinook wind, it is named as a snow eater because it reduces the snow covering in this region. Then along the slopes of the Rocky Mountains and in the Great Plains, they are able to increase the temperature, and it is beneficial for the cattle ranching regions. Means cattle rearing is an important occupation in the people in the prairies region or in the temperate grasslands. So when they are clearing, means the Chinook wind clearing the snow, that is good for the ranchers, as they are able to use the grasslands for animal grazing. And it Chinook that keeps the grassland clear from the snow. The fourth type of winds, that is variable winds. The variable winds, from their name itself we can understand these winds, they do not have any definite direction. They do not have any definite direction, and this definite direction is not there, and this direction that always varies. Okay, it varies according to the pressure system. It varies according to the pressure changes. Okay, pressure changes that leads to the changes in the direction and speed of the wind, that is the variable winds. This movement of the winds that mainly based on the depressions, intensity of the depressions or the low pressure troughs. Okay, so there are two types of variable winds. They are cyclones and anticyclones. Cyclones and anticyclones. So cyclones, they are occurring in the Bay of Bengal region or in the Indian Ocean region. True, because that term is using in the Indian Ocean region only. When it is going towards the other continents, they are named as typhoons. Typhoons in the China. Okay, in China it is named as typhoon. Then hurricanes. You may be very familiar with these terms. Hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico or Caribbean Sea. Okay, I can write the USA because Mexico USA region always affected by the hurricanes. And then Willy Willies. Did you hear about Willy Willies? Willy Willy Willy. Okay, Willy Willy, there is one nursery rhyme that is describing the situation when the cyclones affecting the Australian continent. Okay, so there are different names using to indicate the cyclones. So cyclone, that is the term. Chakravadam, that is the term using in the Indian Ocean or in the Indian context. So what is meant by these cyclones? Cyclones, they are low pressure system. So you can see here arrow marks that indicating the wind is moving towards the center. Okay, so here many circles you can find with the many values that indicating the each circle indicating the pressure condition. So here the movement of the wind, it will be in a circular pattern because around a low pressure system where it is extreme low pressure, around that system we can find the pressure changes, sudden pressure changes. So that is indicated with the help of isobars. So here interior it is low pressure. In the interior of a cyclone it is low pressure, and in the surrounding area that region experiencing a high pressure. So naturally wind will move from high pressure region to low pressure. Wind will move from high pressure region to low pressure. This cyclic movement of air into the low pressure region, that is because of the rotation and Coriolis force only. And the center of the cyclone where it is extreme low pressure, it is named as eye of the cyclone. Extreme low pressure region, it is named as eye of the cyclone. Towards the eye only wind from high pressure surrounding regions will blow. Due to the Coriolis force, the cyclones will move from an anti-clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere and clockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. When the warm air rising from the eye of the cyclone above the cold winds, that leads to condensation and rainfall, which is known as cyclonic rainfall. Okay, cyclonic rainfall. It is common in the tropical regions, especially in the eastern margins of the continent between 8 degree and 20 degree north and south latitude. Anticyclones are just opposite of the cyclones. Here you can find a high pressure system in the center. a high pressure system in the center. That means this area there is a density of air, and the surrounding region there is a lack of air, means low pressure system in the surrounding region. So here the wind from the center will move towards the surrounding low pressure area. So a low pressure here the anticyclones that indicating a calm weather. Anticyclones indicating a calm weather because from a small high pressure region wind is moving in all directions. It is spreading in a large area. On the other hand, in the case of tropical cyclones, the wind from all around, means from a large area, it coming towards a small low pressure depression, and speed of the wind will be maximum according to the low pressure trough. So that's why it leading to large amount of destruction. Then you can see the direction of these winds. These winds they are blowing in the clockwise direction in northern hemisphere and anti-clockwise in southern hemisphere. So in the northern hemisphere they are blowing in a clockwise direction, and in southern hemisphere they are blowing in an anti-clockwise direction. Then okay, anticyclones they are indicating calm weather condition. Anticyclones are indicating calm weather condition. So that's all about the topic winds. We have learned about 4 different types of winds and their subcategories.